So one of the questions I noted was, since a business cannot use SWIFT banking transactions to pay an Iranian partner, what would be the alternatives? So the alternatives to that are Hawala payments that I was just discussing, and I would strongly recommend that if you're doing that to either with a company that you have traded with for a long time or an FCA regulated business, it must be FCA regulated to provide that protection. And as some of us know, even that isn't a full protection. And so I would suggest that you do some really good research on the money exchange company that you're going to use. Make sure that they have more than one director. Make sure that they are a well-established business that can trade and aren't going to disappear tomorrow, and that they're FCA regulated. So that's one option. The other option is that pre sort of the latest situation with the JCPOA and Trump pulling out of that, and even though England's still in it, we all know that the banks are having a difficulty understanding that. But prior to US pulling out of the JCPOA, a lot of the Iranian banks in London were still transacting funds. And I was able to receive funds from London banks into my British sterling account or my Euro sterling account in my high street bank. So that was a way. That is much more restricted now, but there are options that if you have a bank account with one of the London Iranian banks, and there are ways to transfer those funds into a UK bank account. If you don't have an account with one of those London Iranian banks, then it is harder because there isn't a lot of the banks in Iran using that system at the moment because of the lack of liquidity in Europe, mainly because of the oil contracts that were mentioned earlier that are not being, people aren't paying on. So if the oil contracts could be fulfilled, the oil's there to sell, but people are too scared to buy. If they were, then there'd be more liquidity in Europe and further afield to allow the Iranian banks to transact a lot more. So there is some Iranian banks transacting, but not a lot. The other route is therefore money exchange and Hawala payments.